Star Citizen Alpha 4.8 is entering PTU phase after some time in the Evo Caddy, and as more and more players are going to try the new patch, I wanted to make a list of issues encountered in Alpha 4.7 that I hope we aren't going to see in 4.8 again. I will therefore make sure to send a link to all of the issue council reports and hope to gather as many contributions as possible so that hopefully some of these will be fixed in the next main alpha release of Star Citizen. First, let's talk about 4.7.2 new missions which are not showing. I was so hyped to see that courier missions were scheduled to make their return with Alpha 4.7.2. To me, courier missions are some of the most chill missions there are in the verse, and I love the fact that they often take us to places we otherwise never visit in a game. However, as soon as 4.7.2 went live and I tried the patch, I was disappointed to see that there were no new missions. Niku on X confirmed that it was indeed a bug and that the developers have been notified. Hopefully, we'll be able to take these missions when the new update comes. Next, let's talk about NPCs that are not spawning. It's unbelievable, but after all these years, there are still missions that fail because NPCs fail to show up when they are supposed to. This happens in the mercenary and bounty hunting missions, usually in bunkers, but also in exterior settings like derelict outposts. This is fortunately not a situation that happens all the time, and it's usually due to shards that degrade over time, but that being said, it's about time CIG finds a solution to prevent this from happening for good, because as time goes by, we are ever getting closer to the 1.0 release, and when that happens, such a situation will truly become unacceptable. Number 3. Missions not completing what they should. This leads me to the next point, missions that fail to complete when they should. There's nothing more frustrating than completing a mission only to then realize that nothing happens at all. You don't get paid, you don't get any rewards like blueprints, and the missions just show in the Moby glass with the objectives complete, but what should trigger its completion does not trigger it. This is happening with cargo hauling missions, it's also happening with some animal hunting missions like the missions that make you kill some Maroks. Apparently, the issue has been going on for years, so it would be nice if CIG could provide us with an explanation about why this issue takes so long to fix. Number 4. Jump points not working. Another aspect here that needs the attention of the developers are jump points that fail to register the jump of the players. I have experienced it myself, and so have many people in the community. You perform a perfect jump in the tunnel, the light changes, indicating that you enter the next system, yet when you leave the wormhole, you end up back in your system of origin. Of course, the whole process consumed some of your quantum fuel, which makes it all the more painful because it means you will have to spend some additional time to refuel. This is usually a shard issue. If you can manage to change regions, it may work, but of course, we should expect it to work all the time. When this happens, it would be nice if CIG could find a way to refund the quantum fuel as well. Next, let's talk a little bit about 30Ks and instability. This is something which Star Citizen Alpha 4.7 seems to have brought back here, 30K errors. In the past, these were rather common as they appeared when a server would just crash, sending everyone back to the main menu, and it will also make everyone lose their progress. CIG have since then made sure that people's ships would be sent back to their hangars with their cargo inside, which mitigated the main issue. With the introduction of static server meshing with Alpha 4.0, 30K errors have become rather uncommon, a rare occurrence that would only happen if the shard itself and not the server would crash. Well, it seems that something does make shards crash in Alpha 4.7. We know that CIG are working on instances and semi-dynamic server meshing. Could it be some backend evolution that might have added the causes of these issues? At this time, we don't know what is the cause of these errors, but hopefully it's something that they have identified and fixed for the next update. In the next genre is the next issue I would like to talk about, and it's even more frustrating, and that is good old Desync. To CIG's credit, Desync isn't happening as much as it did in the past with NPCs, meaning that you no longer seem to be shooting some NPCs, well, you actually aren't according to the game, and at least here, that is not something that has happened to me in 4.7. I have noticed a lot of desync with the actual game world though, especially around asteroid clusters, where you are supposed to go somewhere and when you reach your mission marker, the mission actually is taking place 2 kilometers away from you, or even worse, when you think that there is nothing in front of you, but the base you're supposed to infiltrate is actually there, which makes you die seemingly for no reason. On your screen, it looks like you did, but according to the server, you crashed against the asteroid. It's extremely annoying and may make you lose a lot of progress, and CIG definitely needs to do something about this. Probably linked to desync is another issue here, and that is when you fall through the surface of a planet. That too is unbelievable that it still happens after all these years. I remember when the pyro system was released, falling through the planets was a common issue, but then it eventually slowly went away. Now, however, it seems to be happening when you get a random disconnection and get back to your shot. Instead of being back where you were, when you start over under the planet's surface and you keep on falling until you die. This has also happened when I bedlogged on the planet's surface with a prospector full of valuable unrefined ore. When I returned to the game, I spawned under the planet's surface with no way of returning above. I think that CIG should implement a reset key here so that your character could be reset in a safe position whenever it gets stuck. This will be practical not just when you fall under a planet's surface, but also when you get stuck in a container or a wall. Number 8. Unminable rocks. There used to be a time when mining with ships was extremely frustrating because the game would not let you scan the rocks you'd find. While this issue seems to have been fixed for ship mining, it appears to have appeared with ground vehicle mining. There have been times when I went mining, especially on Macrotech, looking for dolovine, which is useful for crafting. My advice here, when this happens, will be to change planets. It's frustrating because finding the right type of rock is already hard enough, and I hope that CIG will look into that sooner than later. Number 9. No atmosphere in some ships. It often happens in the game that we have to take our helmets off to drink or eat, for example, or to take a picture or even film a movie. Everything is fine, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, our character starts to choke and die. It seems that in some ships, there are areas that do not have atmospheres in places where they should have one. This happened to me a lot in the Starfarer, in the C2, as well as in the Pisces, and I understand that it could be happening if you open your ship's door in an environment that doesn't have a breathable atmosphere, but it should not happen in your personal hangar. Working ship atmospheres is something that was released early this year, and obviously CIG still has work to do to optimize the feature. Last but not least, how could we not talk about ship spawning issues? While these are not as common as they used to be, credit to CIG here, they still sometimes occur, especially on space stations. There have been quite a few cases when I've been calling a ship only to be told that the service was not accessible at the time, meaning that I was stranded in that station. Usually the best way to fix this is to exit to menu and then get back into the game via another shard. But in addition, I've also been confronted to situations in which my ship was immediately destroyed as soon as it spawned. Luckily, this too happens far less than it did in the past, but it's still a reality and the developers must continue to work on these issues. So to wrap things up here, Alpha 4.7 has been a mixed experience. On one hand, it clearly shows how far CIG has come, especially with the foundations laid by server meshing and the overall stability improvements that we've seen over the past years, but on the other hand, it also highlights a series of long-standing issues that continue to disrupt what is otherwise an incredibly immersive experience. As 4.8 enters PTU and more players jump in, this is a perfect moment for the community to come together, report these problems, and make sure that they are seen. The Issue Council remains one of the most powerful tools we have to shape the development of Star Citizen, and the more visibility these issues get, the higher the chances they will be addressed. But now I am curious to hear from you. Which of these issues have you encountered the most? Is there something that you're hoping to see fixed in Alpha 4.8? Is there something else you wished I had mentioned in this video? Let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, I would not be able to make all of this independent content without the support of my Patreon and YouTube members. If you want to help out the channel, you'll find the link in the description down below. A big shout out to Dr. Frobin, Zero Crusher, Ducky2Ducker, Shadow Rise, and Sokar Tarcisius. I've been the Eradicator, and I'll see you guys in the next one.